Once again, Los Angeles is in the spotlight as the NFL looks to bring football back to the nation's second largest city. Will the Chargers make the move back to their original home? The latest on the battle to keep the Bolts right now on SD Live.
Coming to you from our Fox Sports San Diego studios, it's SD Live. Our guest tonight is ready to talk one-on-one about the state of your San Diego Chargers. The special counsel to the president of the Chargers and the lead voice for the team's search for a new stadium here in San Diego, Mark Fabiani. Get ready, San Diego. The show starts right now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to SD Live. I'm your host, Mike Pomeranz. Big news today out of Carson. The city council there has approved a plan now to build a new NFL stadium that would house both the Oakland Raiders and the San Diego Chargers. And I had a chance to speak with the Chargers special counsel, Mark Fabiani, about what these developments mean to that organization.
Well, the Chargers and Raiders sponsored a campaign to gather signatures to qualify the initiative, which we did in a record time of 8 days. And the measure before the Carson City Council entitles the stadium. Basically, it means that the stadium can be built. All of the approvals necessary, everything was done through the initiative process. So the initiative would put the Carson site on the same level playing field as the Inglewood site is on. Both sites would be fully entitled. Both sites could host the stadium legally, starting immediately.
So there are those fans out there who are going to look at this and say, oh, we've been down this road in the NFL, we're going to move to LA, and we use it as a lever maybe to bring in more public funding. So this move in Carson, in essence, makes things even that much more serious, and I wouldn't say dire, but perhaps you might, to the Charger fan and to the San Diego City Council?
Well, clearly there have been 20 years of failed efforts in Los Angeles to bring football back, so you can certainly understand why people would be skeptical. The difference now, which has never occurred before in those 20 years, is you have 3 teams and they're attached to 2 separate sites. And that's never happened before. In past years, it's always been a stadium developer trying to attract a team, and no one's ever been able to do that. Now you have 2 teams sponsoring the stadium in Carson. You have 1 team sponsoring a stadium in Inglewood. And that's why I think this year feels a lot different to most people than past years. There's something, feels like, about to happen. Now maybe it won't. Maybe other events will take over. But clearly this is a one-of-a-kind thing in LA in the last 20 years with the teams themselves attached to the stadium proposals.
Still, though, each team would need to file relocation applications with the league. And I guess they have until February or in February to do that. So it's hardly a done deal. But when you take a straw poll, if you will, of the owners who need to approve this in majority, what kind of vibe are you getting? Are you getting the vibe that perhaps if you did apply, they'd give you the thumbs up?
Well, we need to do a lot more work before we get to the point where we're going to file a relocation application. First, we want to be sure that there are no options left for us here in San Diego. We've been working for 14 years. We've looked at all kinds of different options. Now we're going to await the task force report on May 20th to see what they come up with. We obviously have to satisfy the owners that we've done everything possible here in San Diego. Now, we've worked for 14 years, so we think we'll be able to do that. And we have to show the owners that the option in Los Angeles is a viable option for the team, for the Raiders, and for the league, and we think we can do that as well. But all of that still has to be done, and clearly we have our work cut out for us. But hopefully, if things go right, we'll have a solution here in San Diego, and we will never reach that day when you have to decide, am I filing this relocation application or am I not going to do that? Hopefully we don't get to that day.
I think there are a couple of interesting points coming out of that whole consideration. For one, Stan Kroenke, the owner of the St. Louis Rams, has indicated many times his desire to be in Los Angeles. Now, if he's to file and gets approval from the league, that puts a team just up the road from the Chargers. If the Raiders are to file, that puts even more pressure if you're concerned about them eating into your market. So what would be the play then from San Diego?
Well, clearly the reason why we're doing this at all right now is that the owner of the Rams, made a significant move in January. He surprised everybody by saying he was going to gather signatures and get a stadium entitled in Inglewood, which he subsequently did. That forced the hand of the Chargers, it forced the hand of the Raiders, and that's why we're sitting here talking about this. If the Rams owner hadn't done that in January, we wouldn't probably have pursued the Carson option. But he did, and we did, and here we are. If one owner files, it's likely that all three owners will file, just to protect their position. That's the reality of the situation. You can't have an owner get in advance of you too much, and we've prevented that from happening with Inglewood by catching up now in Carson. And I think if one owner chooses to file, I think you're going to see all of them file, unless they found solutions in their home markets. That would be the only exception to that. If they find a solution in their home markets, by that point, then they won't file. But if they don't, and another owner is threatening to take the market, I think you're going to see everybody file.
Well, Mark Fabiani, the special counsel to the Chargers, is our guest. And stick around, we've got a lot to get to right here on SD Live.
When we come back, much more with Mark and whether there will be any more Charger history to be made in San Diego. We'll hit the half pipe as we show you one of the coolest San Diego skateboard spots. And in SD Fit, the Fox Sports San Diego girls pick up some skills at Skills headquarters. All this and much more coming up on SD Live.
Welcome back to SD Live. Well, many of you know, but some of you may not, the Chargers' original home was Los Angeles when they became a pro team back in 1960, a member of the old AFL, the American Football League. They were the Western Division champs that year before they moved to San Diego the next season. I know the diehard fan out there very much remembers the 1960 season with the Los Angeles Chargers. It's just so hard for those of us, though, who have watched them as the San Diego Chargers fathom and process. Do you find that you're fighting that image that fans here may feel? It's like, we're not going back there. We've come and developed something from that.
Oh, sure. And Dean Spanos feels the same way. If he hadn't been forced to take the step that he took in Los Angeles, I think we would be working quietly in San Diego in 2015 to find a solution, just as we had for the previous 14 years. You wouldn't have all of this controversy now.
Let me ask you this. You've made the comment before that you guesstimate, or estimate maybe is a better word, roughly 30% of your fan base may come out of
25%
out of the Los Angeles area. So if you did get another team in the league moving to Los Angeles, can the Chargers even survive here?
You could survive here if you had a modern stadium deal. If you had the same kind of stadium deal that other teams have gotten in their markets, a modern facility where fans are willing to pay for a better product, better seats, better concessions.
But do you have enough people at that point? We've seen how Qualcomm has so much trouble selling seats. I mean, do you have enough people who would buy into that?
We think we do. We'd build a smaller stadium, 62 or 64,000 seats, so we'd pretty much be guaranteed sellouts no matter what. The tickets would be more exclusive, if you will, because they would be sold out most of the time. And we're confident that if we could get the same kind of stadium deal that other teams have gotten, we could survive here in San Diego if another team moved to Los Angeles. The problem, of course, and we've been working on it unsuccessfully for 14 years, is we haven't been able to find a stadium solution here that's equivalent to what other teams have gotten. And that's the challenge. And that's the challenge that the task force is facing right now. How do you present a stadium solution that looks and feels like what other teams have gotten in their markets? It's a very hard thing to do in California in general. Look at the situation in Oakland. Mm-hmm. They've been trying for years and have failed. There's no stadium in Los Angeles. There's no stadium in Orange County, two of the richest, biggest markets in the world.
But no one likes the idea of taxpayer dollars. I mean,
No,
I think
no,
you know
they
that
don't.
there's
Of
only
course
one
not.
privately funded stadium to this point in the entire league, right? It's the Meadowlands and the Giants and the
Right.
Jets. Now, I understand Levi, where the 49ers play, is primarily private funding, but how do you even broach that subject with a public that is going, hey, do it yourselves?
It's a very difficult subject to broach, and that's one of the reasons why we failed for 14 years. In this market, you can't do it yourself in San Diego because you've already given the reason. It's too small of a market. It doesn't support the same kind of revenue generation that Los Angeles, for example, and Orange County would support. And so in this market, you have to bridge that gap in some other way. If the public's not going to help, we of course tried many years ago to get a development next to the stadium that would help pay for the stadium. That didn't work. The city didn't want to do that back then. We tried to do something downtown where it wouldn't be just a stadium. It would be a stadium with a roof and a convention center inside so you could have events all year round.
Which explains kind of the friction when the city seemingly right now likes the Mission Valley
Right.
site right away. I think the Chargers are going, we'd rather prefer that downtown site.
Well, we did because we thought it could work. But again, we have an open mind. If the task force comes back with a solution that they've come up with that no one's thought of in the last 14 years, we're going to be very happy to see that.
What is the level of frustration in the Chargers camp right now as you await this May 20th proposal from the San Diego City Council?
You know, we've been working on this for 14 years, and we've had a lot of frustrating moments over that period of time. So I wouldn't say this is any more or less frustrating than other times we've had. I think what's frustrating is the comments you hear from people, some of which are associated with the task force, that cast aspersions on Dean and his family, that cast aspersions on the NFL people who are working on this, Eric Grubman, who came out here last week, the critical comments. I mean, those things, they're frustrating, not because they're hurtful, because they aren't. I mean, this is all business, right? You don't take it too seriously. It's not
But
personal.
it's hard not to, I think, when you're back in those private meetings. And I think there are a lot of folks outside in the city who feel like, hey, why don't we see more of the Spanos family, Dean Spanos, front and center, addressing us as fans and as a city?
He's given many, many interviews over the last 14 years. I mean, I hear that too, but I don't really understand it because he has given lots of interviews. He gave one a couple weeks ago to the Union Tribune. He's been very clear about what he wants to do. He wants to keep the team in San Diego, but he needs to protect the future of the asset. This is his family's largest asset, and if he's just going to sit back and ignore what's going on in Los Angeles, if it were your business or anybody else's business watching, you wouldn't do that for your own business. And so I think it's important to recognize ultimately what's at stake here, and it's the future of the franchise. And Dean has to do what's necessary to protect that. And I think people, if they don't understand it, they ought to think about it a little bit more, and hopefully they will, because it's not something to take lightly. The fact that you might lose 25% of your market, the fact that you might end up in this market with no leverage whatsoever, that's not something anyone would take lightly if this were their business.
Mark Fabiani, the special counsel to the Chargers, our guest on this edition of SD Live. When we come back, we're going skateboarding at a place that respects both the old guard and the new. This story and more coming up on SD Live.
Welcome back to SD Live with your host, Mike Pomeranz.
Time now for the Kaiser Permanente event calendar. Check out the La Jolla Half Marathon this upcoming Sunday. It's race number 2 in the Half Marathon Triple Crown Series. If you'd like some more information, go to lajollahalfmarathon.com. All righty, time now to grab our boards, but the ones with wheels on them. We're going to go skateboarding at a place that not only respects the old guard, but also embraces the new. Let's go out to the Washington Street Skate Park.
And this is the fraternity to the college I never went to. This group of friends that I have here, I'll have for the rest of my life.
In 99, 2000, Glenn Wagner, Joe Pino, Dorian Tucker, and a bunch of other fellas stumbled upon this area here.
They thought, wow, we have this awesome bridge, and so the guys built a little pyramid and 80 kids lined up to skate it.
The city caught wind a couple times and told us to stop, and then kind of came down and bulldozed it.
So they went to the city and said, well, what do we have to do to make this happen? The city said, jump through these hoops. And the guys did. And it's absolutely incredible the amount of work these guys did by hand, mixing the concrete, shoveling it, throwing it up on the walls.
You can tell in the whole skate park like where they started and where they kind of ended. They definitely got better at it like further down the line. They started to figure out like what was good with pouring the concrete and everything. This skate park, it's definitely gave me something productive to do, and it kind of taught me a lot of life lessons that you have to work hard for what you want.
The older generation's not here anymore. People got to step it up to keep it going, and it means a lot, so we're going to do what it takes to keep it going.
You look towards the next generation having respect and taking care of the park and looking after it, because we are the caretakers.
We all kind of look out for the park and make sure people don't do graffiti and stuff down here, because we all want to look out for the skate park.
We are a nonprofit organization. We get no money from the city, no money from anybody besides donations.
You can always make them down here. You can make donations to the skate park over at the skate shop. Hoping the skate park is around so my kids can skate it someday.
The labor, when you do work, hard work, and do it for the love of doing it. I don't think enough of us in the world experience. Having done this here, I've experienced it, and I have the friends to show for it, and I think that's priceless.
When we come back, Mark rejoins us as we discuss the likely end of the line for the stadium that has hosted the Chargers since 1967. Welcome back, everybody, to SD Live. Hey, be sure to catch a new episode of Padres POV Friday night after the Padres host the Dodgers at Petco. Will Myers and Allie Sturm address Will's Chipotle addiction, serving up burritos and some tasty conversation. That's Friday night after the postgame show right here on Fox Sports San Diego. So as we consider the stadium possibilities, at least here in San Diego, we talked a moment ago about Mission Valley versus the downtown location. Why exactly is Mission Valley unacceptable to the Spanos family?
Well, I would disagree with the premise. It's not unacceptable. In fact, we have an open mind about whatever the task force presents. And if they manage to find a solution that has eluded us for 14 years, we'll be the happiest people in the world because we'll have a stadium solution. I can tell you why we moved away from Mission Valley toward downtown. Because we didn't think the development opportunity there would create enough revenue anymore to pay for both the stadium and the infrastructure improvements that you would need out there.
So you've looked into to all those possibilities, I know, and you anticipate something from the city here, as we mentioned,
That's right.
on May 20th.
That's right.
And you have a little time to consider that. But the city has said before, well, maybe we'll bring it to a vote, and that could be as late as the fall of 2016. Is that going to be too late?
Well, you've highlighted the biggest problem of all. Forget about what the proposal says or what the numbers are. If there has to be a vote, and everyone has said there has to be a vote, including the Chargers and the mayor and the city council members, there has to be a vote. The next general election, where you'll have a big turnout, is November 2016. Any other election before that, either the primary election or a special election, will have such a low voter turnout. The people who turn out in those elections are not people who are going to vote for a project like this. So really what we would have to have is enough progress to be able to convince the NFL and Dean Spanos and his family to wait until November 2016. And that's tough because at the same time you may have one or two other owners trying to move to Los Angeles. So you've highlighted the biggest challenge we face. It's bigger than all the other big challenges, and that is, how do you get this done in time? And I think that's what Eric Grubman, the NFL official who was here last week, that's what he said. He said, you guys need to figure out how to do this more quickly. But I don't know that there is a way to do it more quickly because elections are only held when they're held, and the next big one is the presidential in November of 2016.
Yeah, you wrestle with the election, then as you point out too, you wrestle with the notion that the Rams perhaps or the Raiders might be preemptive and go ahead and consider their relocation application even sooner. The league itself, when they consider Southern California, it's almost as though they take this view that it's just the region that matters, much like New England with the Patriots, not the Boston Patriots. You ever get the sense from them that perhaps they would take a team or two and just rebrand them entirely, maybe the Southern California Chargers, or do you think they would like to keep town identity intact?
They're traditionally standing for the proposition at the NFL that teams should not move. And Eric Grubman, when he was here last week, said that. Our preference is for all of these teams to find solutions in their home markets. And I think if the league got its wish, every one of these teams, St. Louis, Oakland, and San Diego, would find a solution in its home market. And so I don't think there's any thought about maybe rebranding them or trying to get fans to follow them there from the other cities. I think the first priority is to keep the teams in their home markets, and if that doesn't work out, then the owners have to look at the relo apps on their merits and figure out which team has the best application.
Have you had a chance to look at any numbers and do any research as to whether fans in the San Diego market would be willing to drive 80 miles up the road to Carson?
It's a great question. We haven't done the research. We certainly respect fans who have said, if you move, I'm not going to attend any more games. We certainly understand that point of view. We hope that there would be some fans who would say, you've been working at it for 14 years. We understand that you tried hard. We understand you didn't get it done. We might find a way to continue to follow you. We hope there'll be some people who understand that. I mean, 14 years of work, it's hard to just wipe that away and pretend like it didn't happen. This is an owner that's spent, as I mentioned, $15 million. He's made 9 different proposals over that 14-year period of time. So hopefully there'll be some fans who will at least keep an open mind about the fact that we've really tried to get this done.
Let's put it all in a shredder right now. Mix it all up. I'm going to put you on the spot because I'd like you to look into a crystal ball if you could and tell me where you think this will be to open the 2016 NFL season.
I think it depends largely on what happens in St. Louis. I think that if St. Louis comes up with a proposal that involves a substantial amount of public money, that puts tremendous pressure on the Rams to find a solution in St. Louis. And then that changes everything, because then you might not have a team that's filing a relo app preemptively this fall. So that's the one thing I think that's more important than anything else, is what happens in St. Louis. If, on the other hand, you have an owner that's determined to file in the fall no matter what, I think the other teams are going to file as well to protect their position. And then it'll be up to the ownership of the league to look at all the proposals and figure out which is the best proposal for the league's point of view. Ultimately, that's what's going to carry the day. Think we have a strong argument in Los Angeles. We're paired up with the other California team that's had a problem for many years getting a new stadium, just as we have. We feel like we have a fan-friendly site. It's close to LA, it's close to Orange County. It's easy to get in and out of. It'll be very much a game day experience. So we think we have a good argument to make to the owners, but ultimately it's going to be up to the owners who will say, this proposal is better than that proposal, and we're going to endorse one or the other. It'll come down to that.
Mark Fabiani, our guest, and my friend, I cannot thank you enough for the time.
Thank you. It's
Special
a pleasure to be here.
To the Chargers. Boy, there's a lot in the hopper right now.
A lot going on, yeah.
Get some rest.
No
I'd like
doubt.
to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely.
When we come back, a cool way to get in shape with help from the Fox Sports San Diego girls. That's next on SD Live. Welcome back to SD Live, and it's time now to get in shape. And this week, Fox Sports San Diego girls Bree and Katie go to the Skills headquarters. Here's SD Fit, presented by Kaiser Permanente.
Today, we're at one of the finest gyms in Southern California, Exo San Diego, at Skills headquarters, where top athletes from across the country learn how to train with the best coaches.
Our conditioning coach today is Roy Holmes, who has worked with some of the best pitchers in the nation and has helped them maintain successful pitching techniques.
Roy will be putting us through some of the toughest conditioning the MLB has seen, and this should prepare us for any pitch we'll have to throw. So let's get to work.
How's it going?
How you doing?
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Thank you. So what are we going to be doing today?
Basically, I'm going to take you guys through what we take pretty much all of our off-season baseball players through, mainly our pitchers. Primarily working on the strength and conditioning aspect of baseball training. We're going to start off with a dynamic warm-up, and it's going to really elevate their heart rate so that when they hit their workout, it doesn't feel like, you know, they just started something. So it's a pre-workout to the workout.
They were those short bursts, but they really get your heart rate up and moving.
Go ahead and go. There you go. Get after it.
These are drills that I've never done
Completely
before.
different than
yes,
what we've done before.
So definitely very tough.
It's essentially what we like to call kinetic linking, so being able to link from the floor all the way up through the body. Pull through. Pull through.
That was really tough.
That was a little bit
Planks
rough.
are just tough, and then you have to like pull this 20-pound thing. It was
Yeah.
rough.
And I want you to reach both arms up, and then I want you to pull both arms down. Stay low, and then pull and stand tall. But we want to make sure that they're strong, that they're conditioned, that they're not out there breathing hard, that they don't have to worry about their fitness level, that they feel from head to toe strong. Well, there it is, ladies. You're officially baseball ready now. How do you guys feel?
I'm feeling
Pretty
pooped.
good. I mean, that was a lot for a short period of time. I mean, my heart rate was pounding.
You guys did a good job.
All right.
Good job.
That's going to do it for this edition of SD Live. Those special thanks to our guest today, the special counsel for the Chargers, Mark Fabiani. Now, be sure to join us next week. We've got another great episode. This one, though, is closer-centric. We're going to have Trevor Hoffman and Craig Kimbrell with us. That's the next edition of SD Live. Until then, have a great week.